of your major. So it may be helping you with searching for internship opportunities, work experience as it pertains to your program or your major, helping you guys create a resume, doing mock interview skills, but also providing opportunities to engage with employers. So that might be hosting a career fair on campus. Each semester, we host Entree to Employment. It's a group effort between our department on the 3 campuses, so also with Visalia and Hanford. So it's kind of a formal dinner and networking type setting. We pick certain programs each semester, and students have the chance to sit down and kind of pick employers' brains. What is out there as it relates to my major? What are some of my transfer options? If I'm going to a 4-year university after CLS is an option for you. So I'm going to pass around the roster. If you just want to initial next to your name, it's just for my record, so I know who I'm talking to. But if you're on the roster, I did send you this information. So it has all my contact info. If you hover over my name and my location, you can shoot me an email. That phone number you can call or text it to schedule an appointment. So I generally see students in kind of 1-hour blocks or schedule them in 1-hour blocks. To be right before a class or right when you get out. I can sit down and we can kind of go over options that are available to you or work on that resume or go over mock interview skills. I also attached a PowerPoint to the email that I sent you guys. It may not be relevant. A lot of the events are very ag specific since that's my big program here in Tulare. But one thing we are hosting in October, it's October the 16th, it's a Monday. It's our Giant Threads mobile clothing closet. So students have, and again, this is a free service. Students have the opportunity to sign up and receive a free professional outfit. Brand new. Our department, we kind of run the trailer, but we collaborate with Captain students at the Visalia campus, and they literally fit students. So you go in there trying a pair of pants, it doesn't fit, they'll hem it up for you. And again, this is free for all students. It's just a matter of signing up for the service. And you can do that once a semester. So if you have an interview coming up and you need a new outfit, sign up for it. If you think you need a new outfit for some kind of professional development event, sign up for it. But again, we will host this at the Tulare campus in October. But that, for the most part, that trailer is located at the Visalia campus. Any questions about anything I mentioned? I know it's a lot of info. Students aren't really, sure about what career services is. But like I said, I'm here to serve as the connection between you guys and an employer, based on those degrees that you're pursuing. So it might be sitting down, trying to figure out, these are viable options for me, based on my major, or even asking the question, what can I do with this major? Just because you may be, ag business, for instance, it's so broad, or business in general. I mean, what can I do with a business major? I can do just about anything, okay? Because the coursework you're going to take, there's a lot of overlap, within industry. And there's no lack of opportunity. I don't care what industry you're pursuing, there is something out there for everyone. Okay.
Any questions, guys? Get a free suit. Well, it doesn't have the jacket, I think.
Probably not the jacket, but you're definitely, like for men, you're going to get a shirt, you're going to get a tie, the belt, the slacks, the shoes. For ladies, it's a nice collared shirt. It's probably some dress pants. I know they have set these up with pantsuits in the past, and it looks really pretty classy. So I would definitely consider signing up for that service.
That's some good stuff. That shit's expensive.
And it's within the email that I sent you. Click on the PowerPoint, you can look through it. But again, this is kind of my main flyer for services here at this campus, and I am located down the hall at 109, 2 doors down from Mr. Gibbs. So come find me, guys. Glad to help you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Every morning.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
All right. You guys finally ready to do some calculus, or not calculus? That's my 8 to 10 class. Who's ready to do some calculus? Nobody? All right, fuck it. Let's stick with stats. Let's do some lectures on stats. And let me make sure I'm recording. Brittany, you can't hear me correctly, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. So Math 21 finally gets you some lectures. It's math. Math 21. We'll call this day 1 of lectures. So like, what are we doing in here? What the hell are stats? Or statistics? We say stats a lot because we're lazy. What are statistics? It actually has a definition. It's not just some jargon. Statistics are a numerical summary of the data regarding and this is the important part, sample of the population. That's how we define statistics. It's a second to write that down. We have a different word when it's not about the sample. When we're talking about the whole population, we use the word parameter. Parameters are numerical summaries of the data regarding a population. Common ones that we use, since we're doing a numerical summary, and numerical means number. Like if we're summarizing data, it might, like examples of this include the average, which is called the mean. We will look at something called standard deviation. And variance are common ones. Another common one is proportion. Proportion of people. These values almost never are exactly equal. If I am asking what is the average GPA of all COS students, and I just take a look at my about 200 students I have this semester, and I look at their average GPA, my 200 students would be a sample of the overall population. But I'm betting the average of my students is different than the overall average. I'd like to think it's higher because they're my students, but who knows? But it's probably pretty close. So we use different things for it, and we're even gonna have different symbols for it. We've got another word here that's fairly vague for people. Data. What is data? This data. I want to say data is the plural. I think datum is singular, but I don't remember. It might be the other way around. Data is just information or responses. Information gathered or responses from that is not how you spell responses. There we go. From surveys are examples. Observation, etc. It's information that's been gathered. I don't always have to ask someone a question. If I wanted to figure out what proportion or what percentage of cars in the parking lot are red, I could go out there and I could lock the fucking gates so no one could come or leave. Otherwise, I'm not going to get an accurate count quickly enough. And I can go through and count the total number of cars and count the total number of red cars, and I don't have to ask anyone anything. So it's not always about surveys and stuff like that. It can be about inanimate objects, things like that. So that's what data is. Does anyone need this page longer? If you do, if you're taking notes and I'm going too fast, please say, do you need longer? No. If you need it longer, you gotta say something. So let's break down data a little bit more. Data comes in two main categories. Comes in two flavors. I'm a big person that likes food, so I like to use the word flavor. We have the qualitative category. And we have quantitative. Quantitative. Does the word qualitative look like another word that you guys know?
Qualities.
It looks like quality, right? This looks like the word quality. So quality or characteristic. Characteristic, like what is everyone? What's your eye color? You'll say it's brown, it's blue, it's green, it's hazel, it's 3/4 brown and 1/4 blue. Forget what that's called, where the eye color changes under someone. They have a word, or sciencey word for it. I don't know. Remember what?
Is heterochromic, like two different color dots, or like what?
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, is it called heterochromic?
Yeah.
Look at that shit. Yeah, that's something, and you find out something new every day. That is not what the word I had in my head, but that sounds. Yeah, hetero means mixed. Mixed chrome would be color, mixed colors. All right, I'm good with that. So like eye color isn't really like a number. So these tend to be categories or categorical. Qualitative tends to be categorical. What does the word quantitative look like? It looks like quantity, right? What is a quantity? It's a number or an amount, right? So quantitative data is numerical. It has numbers in it. It's got numbers in it, that's fine. I'll write numerical up here. And give myself a lot of room below. So I'll start with numerical data first, quantitative data first, because this is intuitive for some people. First off, the data must be numbers. The info must be numbers. There's actually another requirement of this as well. You have to be able to use it in math operations, usable in arithmetic operations, arithmetic. I have to be able to add the data, divide, maybe divide it up, stuff like that. And not every number that I can get from a person makes sense. Can you guys think of any numbers that are associated with people that are definitely numbers, but adding them up doesn't mean anything?
Like your driver's license?
Your driver's license, if it's pure number, mine has an A in it. Yeah, but numbers on a driver's license, or if the license plate is all numbers, adding up numbers doesn't seem to make sense. Anything else? Adding age up works because we could use it to find the average age. Or the cumulative number of years of experience. Adding in terms of age is like adding time. If you do 4 years in bachelor school and 3 years in graduate school, adding those years up means something. It tells you the amount of years you spend in education. Good idea, though. Any other ideas?
Social security number?
Social security number. These are all things that go over in this category. Social security number, maybe driver's license. They have numbers, but adding them doesn't make sense. Anything else? There's a common one. Phone number. I was surprised that was the last one said. Phone number or area code. We all actually have another one that we all have. Address is what I was thinking. I was thinking more along the lines of zip code, because address has a street, but zip code. We'll put /address. You're just looking at the numerical part of the address. So those are examples of numbers that don't go in the quantitative category. What kind of numbers go? Well, before they do that, let me break down the numbers a little bit more. So the numbers come in 2 different flavors as well. We can have discrete data, discrete numbers. And this means it's countable. 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be something you wouldn't count. Like the number of hairs on someone's head. That doesn't seem like something I can't think of anyone wanting to count. Even if you shaved it all off to count it where it's not attached to their head. That's a lot of fucking hair, right? Counting each strand of hair. You can, but you probably wouldn't. So just things that you can count. The other set of data is called continuous data. And these are things that you measure. Has anyone seen the $25,000 pyramid game? On like the Game Show Network and shit like that. Every time I get to this part of the lecture, it reminds me of that. The object is two people are talking to each other. One person is can see the categories. The other person and is feeding the person that can't see them things that are in that category. And so the object is for the person that can't see the board, say what the category is. So things that you can measure. Things in this category are time. We measure time. We use a stopwatch. We could. Length. Weight. Length kind of goes in this one covers a lot, like distance, height. Length is like a spatial measurement. So there's a lot of ways to measure length, right? How far away something is, how tall something is, something like that. Age is one of those that can go in both categories. I'm going to put age in the continuous category, but I'm going to say sometimes. If I ask you how old you are, no one in this class is going to fucking say 18.734 years. You're just going to say I'm 18. Age is one of those numbers that we always round down. The only group of people that round up on age, what group of people round up on age?
Probably like young kids.
Kids. You're fucking turning 6 in a couple days. I'm almost 6 years old. Everyone else rounds down. Some people round down a lot more than they should. I'm 29. Bullshit. Your entire head is gray. You got gray hair all over the fucking place. You are not 29. Right?
I dated that.
So that's continuous data. I'll do the discrete one. I'll list some more things here. Things that you can count. You can count your income. You can always count money. Number of children or number of kids. It can be crazy shit, like leaves on a tree. Hairs on your head. Being able to count and wanting to count it are two different things. I don't want to count my income in dollar bills. Like if I got paid in all ones every month, and I just had my annual income sitting in front of me in ones. That's a lot of fucking ones. I don't want to count them. I definitely don't want to count it if it's pennies. But I could. We could break it down to pennies and do it by that way. So it doesn't mean it's easy, but you still can count it. Things in the quality or categorical thing, they don't have to be numbers. Or a better way to say it is they can be numbers, but don't have to be. And we have some examples on the screen already in blue. These are things that you would call maybe a trait or a characteristic or an attribute. Other things in that category, like your name. That's a trait. That's a characteristic that applies to you. Hair color, eye color. Level of education. I'm thinking like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. That's not really numerical. Who your favorite superhero is, shit like that. Things that you would use words for. Any questions on that? So this is the kind of, I didn't even wait to see if anyone had a question. That's the champion I am. Anyone have a question so far? I'm off the screen. If I go off the screen, say something. Let me know. All right, so these are the types of, like, this is kind of stuff we can ask or look up. This is just about people. Like car color. Type of car. Type of tree, size of your yard, if you have a yard. What type of home do you live in, if any? Is it a home? Is it an apartment? Is it a duplex? There's all sorts of shit we can ask. Not all it's related to people. But I think using people makes it kind of handy to talk about, like, why do we do statistics when we could do the parameter? We said the difference between statistics and parameters is statistics are just getting a numerical summary of the data of a sample of the people, which means like a smaller group of the people. Whereas a parameter is getting the numerical summary for the entire population. Wouldn't it be better just to get the responses from everybody in the population? And then we'd know for sure. So let's write that down. It seems like the entire population would be a better choice. There's some reasons why you wouldn't. They may not be willing. Let me get there though. Let me write this down. Seems like gathering the data for the population, i.e. getting a parameter, would be better than doing a sample. Which is the word where we use the word statistics. Reasons why we don't generally do it though. Very rarely do we do the entire population. We gather data for populations. It definitely would be more accurate if I can get everyone, if I could find out everyone's GPA. Well, COS can. Like they have everything's in the computer. COS can get the average GPA of everyone. But if I wanted to do it on my own without asking the school, like, can you give me this information? I'd have a really hard time. One of the reasons is someone said, reasons we don't. Not everyone answers. Which means some data is unobtainable. unobtainable data. What are other reasons, like if I wanted to get the average GPA of students? What are other reasons I wouldn't do it?
Fine.
Time. Time is probably the biggest reason. Time constraints. It would take too long. What other thing would require too much of?
Like resources?
Resources, like if. First off, if I'm doing it by hand myself. I still need a lot of paper to write down everybody's responses and shit like that, so. Like, that shit costs money. If I wanted to ask everyone, I don't know that I could do it by myself. There's like fucking 15,000 COS students. Some of them are fucking like in Texas and shit like that. They only take online classes. I would have to like call them and get their response. You know, I can't do it in the time I've got, and so if I could pay someone else, but then that gets pretty expensive too. Money is another issue. Time and money are the biggest constraints. Now, the US does the census every 10 years. United States does a census every 10 years. I'm actually going to define census later. But wait, does everyone know what the census is? They go around collecting information for each household. How old you are, what kind of like, they just ask questions at your door. They'll write down, they'll ask you your ethnicity, income level. They're finding like information for like each household so that they can figure out areas like, is this a middle class area, a rich area? Is it predominantly Latino or white or, you know?
It also helps determine like the population of an area for how many representatives you get in Congress.
That's another good one. A real like
That's like the main reason they do it, is to determine the population for redistributing which house is it?
they do gerrymandering.
Yeah,
Each state gets a certain number of representatives based on the population. And it can grow or shrink. Generally, as the population grows, though, they just redefine how many it takes to have one representative. Because otherwise, if we went with like what they had in the 1700s, where it was like, I don't know, 100,000 people was a representative, California would have so many representatives that they couldn't hold us all in Washington, DC. So they eventually like just start raising the number for the people that it takes to represent. Guess what? The census is not accurate. Not accurate when it's done. And that's even avoiding unobtainable data. Let's say they were able to ask everyone, including people that didn't have homes. They'd go to houses and homes and apartments for this, but let's say they even got information from all the homeless people. They've asked every single living, breathing person in the country. It's still not accurate. And it wouldn't be accurate even if we just did Visalia. Why? Can anyone think of why it might? What? Say it again?
Like birth rate, like, you know.
Birth rate. We can't ask every household at the exact same time. Right? So they gotta pay, even if they're paying 1,000 people to go through Visalia. By the time you go from one side of Visalia to the other side of Visalia, even if it's only a day, people have been born and people have died. The population number has changed. There's nothing they can do about that. Some things are unavoidable, so they do it every 10 years, and they just assume that the number of births averaged out with the number of deaths. Sometimes that's true, sometimes that's not. Sometimes deaths are higher, like probably during the start of the pandemic. In fact, I guarantee it had to have been higher during the start of the pandemic. A lot of times birth rate is higher, and sometimes birth rate is so high that some governments say, nope, you can't fucking breed anymore. I don't know if China still has that rule, but they had it.
No, they got rid of it completely.
Did they get rid of it? It used to be you get one child.
I don't think they got.
Was it
rid of
two?
But I know that they upped it.
Maybe they upped it to 2.
I think they upped it to like 2 or 3.
3 would mean growth. Because take 2 parents making 3 child means the population keeps growing. Maybe if they, I don't know, it might have 3. I would suspect 2. That way, like 2 people have 2 kids. They're not producing more, like if the parents die off, then the kids are the ones replaces them. You're still gonna have population growth because we generally have more than 1 generation alive at a time. Most people have met at least 1 grandparent. Very rarely do you have all grandparents dead before you're born. So yeah, they use it for different things. But even the census isn't accurate because it just takes too long. So we do samples. The census doesn't do it. But if I wanted to find out like information about Visalia, I'm not going to everyone in Visalia. I don't have the time and money that the government has. Well, they don't have the time, but they got the money to pay people. Right? Sometimes you can make time with money, at least the effective equivalent of time. Paying someone else to do your shit, that's like buying time. It's kind of neat. But I can't do it, so I gotta ask a sample. So like, let's go back to the GPA, and I asked the 200 students I have this semester. I don't know if that number's right. It might be 180, it might be 210. It's somewhere up there. I got a lot of classes, so I think it's around 200. I might have students that are higher than the average student. I might have students that are lower than the average student. I might have students that are really, really close. But the average GPA might be like 3.112, and my group is like 3.113. They're close, but they're not the same. So very rarely do samples have the same answer as the population. For sample data statistics, almost never match the parameter or population. But if we gather the data in an appropriate manner, thank you. These 2 should be really close. With a very small probability that they don't. That they are not close. Anyone need this up longer? If you do, I'm willing to leave it. You just gotta say something. Not trying to rush anyone. All right. So usually we can get it pretty close. But not always. So I'm gonna be a little more like clear with like what the process of statistics is. The process we take. We will start off identifying a research objective. I say research, but if I want to find the number of red cars in the parking lot, I don't think anyone would really call that research. Technically it is. I'm researching the population of red car or the percentage of red cars, but I don't think anyone thinks when they think research would think that. So we identify the research objective and the corresponding populations. Very much matters. These two are both important. I can say what is the average GPA, that's my research objective. But if I'm not specific, what do I mean? Am I talking about every college student in the entire world? Am I talking about college students in just the US? Am I talking about college students in just California? Just the county? What am I talking about? So I need to define what the population is. Define what group of people we're talking about. Population doesn't necessarily mean people. And if you want like a little more information about what a population is, populations are groups of things with similar traits. If we're talking about students at COS, I think the kind of what makes them similar is in the name. We're talking about vehicles in the parking lot. They cover a wide range. They're not even all four-wheeled. Vehicles in the parking lot, people ride motorcycles and bicycles, right? And so not like how people get to school isn't even all just four wheels. Or if they take the bus. Now buses have four wheels, don't they? They don't have like an extra pair in the back like a diesel would. They just have big ass wheels. So that's what we do in part A. Then what we do, we conduct an experiment to collect the data. And how we do that, this is a topic that we're going to discuss further in chapter 1. Then, once we have our data, we have to turn it into something useful. If I ask 400 students their GPA, that's not really fucking helpful as is. So, we have to use the data to develop what we're going to call descriptive statistics. And we're gonna see how we do that and what we're doing with that in chapters 2 to 4. Finally, we already talked about how that might not be. It might not match the population, right? So what we do there, after we have this information. Is we do something we call performing inference. INFERENCE. So, what does that mean? We want to infer. Or make a claim. We want to infer about something regarding the population. Just using sample data. This could be unreliable. And usually has a bunch of different techniques. Nope, not usually. And there are a bunch of techniques to do it. How techniques to infer about something. So we're gonna figure out how to measure reliability. We'll look at reliability from chapters 5 to 8. And we're gonna look at the techniques from 9 to 13. We have a pattern, we have a rule, we got something, we have an objective of. Any questions so far? I think we should take a 5-minute break or so. It's been an hour. I don't want to like make you absolutely hate this class more than you probably already do. Some other things that pop up in this section are like the variable types we have. So variables and statistics. This is 1.2. I don't know if I have homework for 1.2, but the information kind of pops up and I think you guys should hear it. So these come in 2 categories. One is the explanatory variable. And the other is the response. Explanatory variables, they have the word in it. They explain why an outcome has occurred. Occurred never looks right when I spell it, no matter how I spell it. Sometimes I'll add an extra R and go, nope, that doesn't look right. Take you out a C. No, I'm pretty sure this is the correct one. Response variables are, well, what was affected? Like, what outcome kind of thing? You guys know these as one word answers. Cause and effect. Yeah. I think just giving the definitions isn't necessarily as helpful. So like, let's give a scenario. A survey was conducted. With teenagers. To see if owning a mini fridge in the bedroom led to obesity. So after you've gotten that written down, try to identify what we would call the explanatory variable and what we would call the response variable. Any ideas? Is there a cause and effect implied in the question?
Yeah, to see what we do.
Obesity is one of these and owning a mini fridge is the other. Which one's which? So explanatory is, do they own a mini fridge? And next question is, are they obese? Or pleasantly plump? I like the word plump. Sounds good. It's got a nice ring to it. So what do you guys think about this scenario? Does that seem like a good experiment? Do you think checking for a mini fridge would show whether or not, and then checking to see if they were obese would show whether or not owning a mini fridge led to obesity? You think that would give good results? But probably not. Why? Why do you think that?
There's a lot of other factors that kind of obesity, like genetics, your overall diet, but not immunity.
There's a lot of things that fucking impact it. What if it's all just bottled water and fucking fresh fruit? Like, so there's a lot of other things that impact this.
Or like, what if it's your skincare fridge? Because some people do that. There's a lot more factors.
Did you say skincare fridge?
Yeah, a lot of people keep like their skincare stuff in like a little mini fridge.
Do you know somebody that does this?
Not in real life.
but I know a lot of people on TikTok that do.
That's fucking insane.
Actually, there's a face massage little thing that's gonna rub it on your face. That's actually better if you put it in the fridge, it feels better.
Yeah, I get
like
storing
the-
shit in the fridge.
Face-
Having an entire mini fridge dedicated to it is the part I'm going, what the fuck
Well,
about?
we can have an award,
There's like
whole
actual
experience, so.
skincare mini fridges. Like mini fridges that are actually for skincare, like that's how they're advertised.
That's just to get a stupid person to buy a product that already has another name,
Like
right?
expiration date.
Who here knew about skincare mini fridges? Better question, who didn't? I am surprised that I am in the minority. Why? There was a lot of guys that raised their hands. What the fuck is going on nowadays? I know some guys will use makeup and shit, but like, a lot of guys are lazy as fuck when it comes to skincare. Like my wife will lotion every day. I'll put on lotion if I feel fucking dry. There's a difference. And it's not very often. I gotta feel fucking like dry, like, oh damn, that's kind of like sandpapery. All right, so, but like, yeah, just as you were saying, what is your name? Cassie. As Cassie was saying, what about things like genetics? Diet. Contents of the fridge. What other things might impact whether or not they're obese?
Their exercise, like their activity levels.
Exercise activity level seems like another good thing that maybe we should check. Medication can very much make you put on weight. Some stuff acts like a diuretic and you lose water fast. Other stuff makes you just hold on to that water and you just plump up. Water is fucking heavy. You don't think water is heavy? Lift a 5-gallon bucket of water. And then do like 5 gallons of something else like
Feathers.
feathers. I was gonna say sand. Water tends to be heavier than, well, no, it's not, because sand sinks in water. If you held 5 gallons of water, maybe, or oil. No, this is just a dumb example. I'm gonna stop right there. So these are a bunch of reasons why the student or the teenager might be obese. These have a name. These are called lurking variables. They are shit that's going on that might explain the outcome, but have not been factored into the experiment. So possible explanatory variables that have not been accounted for. Let me know. Anyone need that? Oh, wait, I do see some pins going. It's clear. People need more time. Slow it all down. All right, so let's say we compensate for that. Let's say we add in one of these things. Let's say our scenario. Let's add exercise. to the survey in the scenario. So now we have our explanatory variables, our exercise and mini fridge ownership. So like. Now what can I do? Can I like determine what the cause is now? I still can't, even if we had everything in it. If they're obese. Which of these caused it? So these are, this at this point becomes called a confounding variable. Confounding variables. Can't be separated. So we don't know which is the cause. Okay. So those are some vocab terms for you: confounding variables, lurking variables. A couple other things that they'll tell you about in this chapter or this section, the types of studies. Because there's more than one way we can do this. We can have an observational study. This is where we measure the response without trying to influence the outcome or without any influences. And another one is the design experiment. Individuals, whether it's people or other objects, are assigned to a group. And the explanatory variable is deliberately changed. Or is intentionally affected. And then responses are recorded for each group. Observational studies can only show correlation. And design experiments can show causation. Yeah, those are a lot of words, so like I'll let you write it down and then I'm gonna explain the difference. So. Let's say it's July. Well, let's use August, it's August. And we have observed that ice cream sales are up. And crime is up. Do ice cream sales cause crime? Does crime cause ice cream sales? No. This is an example of where two things are correlated. They both went up together. But neither one caused the other. What's the probable cause for these? The heat. I don't know, I get why ice cream sales go up in summer. I don't know why crime goes up in summer, but there's gotta be a reason. Summertime tends to have higher crime.
Yes, they get ears and excited.
I don't know if it's irritation, I don't know if it's, some of it is delinquents fucking vandalizing or stealing and shit like that. Like maybe they have the summer off for whatever reason. Not just students have the summer off, some of us, other lucky people get the summer off also. There might be a fucking group of professors out there that have a great criminal ring going on, but they're too busy during the fucking semester, and so they only do it in June and July. Maybe. The professor mafia. Who knows?
Walter White.
Walter White, that's a good example. That's from Breaking Bad, if you've not seen Breaking Bad. Walter White was a teacher. He didn't restrict it to that, but I get what you're saying. So causation is where one of them clearly affects the other. Ice cream sales versus crime go under correlation. A design experiment that you've probably heard of is called the double blind experiment. With a placebo. This is in medicine, they did a lot. You're a pharmaceutical company, you think you have the fucking cure for cancer. And so they do something, to me, I get why they do it, but in my head, it's fucking highly immoral. They gather everyone in the trial has cancer of some form. Generally, they try to get the same types of cancer, so that way, if it's targeting a specific one. And then they give half the people in the trial the treatment. And the other half of the people get something called a placebo. Which looks, tastes, feels, whatever. While you're to whatever form you're taking it, appears to be the treatment itself. But it has no active ingredients in it. So they not only give something that they think is a cure to people, to only half the people, and the other half don't get it. That's called a blind experiment. A single blind experiment is when the recipient doesn't know whether they're in the placebo group or not. They may not even realize that there is a placebo group. A double blind experiment is when the person handing out the medicine doesn't know if they're handing out the medicine or placebo. Because I don't know about you, But if I knew that the people I was handing a pill to had cancer and I was giving them a fucking sugar pill, I don't know that I could look them in the eye. I don't know that I can make a convincing appearance that I am giving them something that will cure their cancer. Well, if I know differently, but if I don't know differently, if I think I'm giving them the cure, I'm gonna be like, just like if I was giving them the cure. If I don't know, I'm gonna assume I am. This is the idea of the firing squad, the way they used to do the firing squad. Not every gun had a bullet. So you could do a firing squad, they all had blank, some of them had blanks, some of them, they all make the same sound. They all have a shell that discharges after you shoot the gun. But you don't know if your gun was the one that killed them, so you can sleep at night, that you didn't go murder somebody in a firing squad. Firing squad, like, that's how they, like a death sentence, that's how they used to do it. They probably still do in some places. I'm sure Russia's been doing it, getting their firing squad shit going on lately. If they can in Ukraine.
It's still legal in some states, actually.
States, like US states,
I think it's legal in like 4 or 5 states,
legal or used?
legal. So it
Okay.
can be used, doesn't necessarily mean that it is used.
Right. Legal, it just means they never bother to rescind the law that says you can do it. There's a lot of laws on the book that are dumb and like need to be rescinded. So that would be a double blind where you don't know. And so like that's a designed experiment. We can actually show whether or not the pill cures cancer versus something that doesn't cure cancer. The reason why they gotta do this and not just leave out like test it against the regular population is, believe it or not, sometimes mind over matter is a fucking thing. If you think you're gonna live, you fucking live. It's insane. It really is. Your mindset can affect your long-term health. That's mind-blowing. It's true though. You can have the right attitude and like, I don't know if it releases the right fucking endorphins or whatever they're fucking called in your body. It just happens to be the magic pill that makes the cure go down or the cancer go down in your system or whatever. Some people, cancer goes away. It's not many, but it has. And so like they try to address thinking you're taking the cure. You generally don't think you're gonna get better if you're not taking something for it though. There's not a lot of fucking very optimistic people that go, nope, I've got stage 4 cancer. I ain't doing anything about it, but I'm still gonna live forever. There's not a lot of people with that mentality. It's generally you think you're taking something that'll work. All right. A couple of things that pop up that you'll see terminology for. A cross-sectional study. Here we can have the info is collected at once or over a long term. The long term tends to fall in this second group though. Case control study. Tends to be a long-term collection of data. Like monthly check-ins, shit like that. Or they do say what's called a retrospective. And that's where you're like looking back and just saying what happened over the time. Another word in this category is cohort. Oh, I underlined case control, or I underlined case study. Let's underline that one. We'll underline cohort. COHORT. This is a group of individuals studied over a long period. Something usually is clearly grouping them together. It's usually like when they joined this study. Scholarship programs that have a lot of scholars every year, they call each group of scholars for each new year a cohort. Another definition we're going to use that you'll see that I will probably never say again is the frame. It is a list of individuals in the population. Other than I'm going to use it in the next definition. So like the name of everybody in the population. A census. This is a frame along with individual characteristics. Or traits. Still no math yet, huh? That's how I roll. You guys ready for the last section we're doing today? This is gonna be really short. Because this has got a simple premise. 1.3 is on the simple random sample. When you gathering candidates for the sample, should be done with some randomness. Otherwise, there may be a relation, or there may be a lurking variable. This is far easier to show bad ways to do it and then end with a good way. So bad approaches. I'm going to do the one I start with at the beginning of the fucking class. Jones finds out or asks all his students to try to determine the average GPA. The average or mean GPA. This is bad. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with, I've got 200 students, that seems like a good representation for population, what's wrong with it?
Yes, all of this. Age should have been picked up.
It's asking all of my students, that's the problem. It's me, I'm the problem. Maybe, just maybe, my students have higher GPA because I'm fucking awesome. Which doesn't seem realistic because most students that are in my classes haven't taken me before, so there's no reason I would have affected their GPA. But maybe like students that take me, how many of you like picked me because you saw my rate my professor fucking score? Not as many as I thought. Usually that's what a lot of people, it's usually over half the class will answer that question with a yes. You guys are an anomaly. You guys were the good students the other day when no one said anything fucking bad. Crazy. But just me asking myself, there's not a goddamn thing random about it. I did it because it was easy. It was easy and convenient. I didn't have to leave. All I gotta do is send out an email to my students or like put it on one of your tests. Say, here's a question, answer it. You'll answer it if it's on a test. Because you want to get full credit. So it's a bad way to do it. It's not random. I wasn't random. No bad way. You're asked a student or you want to ask information and you ask the first 100 people that you see. Let's say you're outside a grocery store and you're doing a survey on groceries. What's wrong with this?
There could be like a difference between like people that shop on weekdays versus like weekends. Or like people that shop in the morning or the night.
Those are huge differences. Even down to the day of the month. There's a couple days of the month that the grocery stores are flooded. Yeah. Sometimes, a lot of times it's related to food stamps or paycheck. But like if you're going on a certain day of the week, some people only shop on Saturdays. Some people only they go out in the morning. Some people go out in the evening. Some people they go at different times. There may be something that ties those groups together. If you're only asking people in the morning at a grocery store, you might be getting everybody that's still fucking hungry. They haven't had breakfast yet if you go early enough. Or maybe they've already eaten and they're not hungry and they're buying shit for the rest of the day. I don't know. I haven't checked to see how grocery store people act. But they all have something in common. They're shopping the same time of day. You're missing all those night owls. All the people in the afternoon, the people that study or do it on the weekend. We could try to affect that. I could stay all day. But that's still not very good. I want to break it up over the time. I want to it's okay to do a bunch in a row in the morning and then do a bunch in a row in the evening and do them on different days of the week. You can't just go with one time. I also wouldn't recommend asking everybody, like, as soon as one person's done, asking the next. People go shopping together. You might get family members. Right? Husband and wife respond to the same survey. There's a good chance they're gonna say they're buying the same shit. Right? And if you're asking about grocery purchases, you definitely have a connection between two of the members. You do not want that. You want everyone to be independent of everybody else. Does that make sense? We're gonna go over a list of things that are biases in the next chapter. The idea is, a good way to do it is break it up. Different times. Days. Even places. The people that shop at Save Mart are different than the people that shop at Boots Co. or Walmart. Target. Target and Walmart are a great comparison. The people that shop at Target are a completely different group of people than the people that shop at Walmart. You will have some overlap. Some people shop at both places. But there's a large group of people that will shop at Target and stick their nose up at Walmart for whatever reason. My brother does it because he's in a union and he hates unions and he knows Walmart's unionized. I don't know if Target is. I suspect their employees are.
Walmart's unionized?
What?
Walmart's unionized?
I'm pretty sure it is. Is why my brother says he hates it. I don't know. I'm working at Walmart. He might be fucking lying out his ass. But they're two different times, different places, different days. It takes longer, but you'll get shit done. Let's call that a wrap. You're free to get the hell out. GTFO. Unless you have a question.